Fallout 76 being an online survival RPG has been a surprise to many, a surprise that right when it was revealed, I had many concerns. Since then, most of my concerns have been answered by Bethesda, and honestly, I'm excited to see how the game plays when the beta arrives probably in a few months. But the one fear which is not necessarily attributed to Fallout 76 that I still have is Bethesda messing around with more and more microtransactions in games as a service. If you've followed this channel for some time, you'd know I expected Fallout Online to come. I always expected it because of how badly Bethesda fought for the Fallout Online trademark years ago, and the fact that the Elder Scrolls Online is a thing. It's clear Bethesda wants arguably their two biggest franchises to have recurrent consumer spending. But what surprised me was Bethesda Game Studios being behind Fallout 76, because honestly, I always expected them to be single player only, and when Todd Howard discussed them wanting to do different games years ago, I never really gave too much thought about them trying a multiplayer focused experience. Anyway, my concern has been on what happens if Fallout 76 is huge and brings in boatloads of revenue. Could this change the future of Bethesda Game Studios like it has changed BioWare and Rockstar Games? But since Bethesda's E3 conference, we've gotten a lot more information on Fallout 76 and its origins. We now have a better understanding that this game probably didn't take too many resources to make. In the no-clip documentary, we find out that Fallout 76 was originally the multiplayer design of Fallout 4. And eventually Battlecry Studios, which has experienced online developers, were brought in and they started to implement the Quake netcode into the creation engine with Fallout 4 on top. Eventually, through numerous challenges because of just how old the creation engine is and how it's geared towards single player, the Battlecry developers figured out how to make multiplayer with players work, leading to some of the lead developers on the project realizing they needed a massive new world for this multiplayer project. Essentially, Battlecry Studios, while they were only just announced in 2018 to now being Bethesda Game Studios Austin, they've been working on this project for years, and seem to be the main team behind this, while of course the main Maryland studio has assisted. But I'm almost certain they've been investing a lot of their time into Starfield and new technology. Recently, Bethesda's Pete Hines spoke to the Swedish gaming site FZ, and he got a lot more specific on the future and their expectation that people would freak out finding out Fallout 76 is an online-focused game, saying,
Fallout 76 and expecting some folks to freak out a little bit when they find out Bethesda Game Studios is not doing just single player, that it's going online, to be able to say, look, but the next thing that we're doing is new IP, and it's sci-fi, and it's epic single player. It is a single player game, period. That also helps convince folks, like, look, this is not forevermore what we're doing. Like, we are going to do a game that's just single player next time around. And yes, we are going to get to Elder Scrolls 6.
So something I personally thought was the reason why Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 were revealed at Bethesda's E3 conference was to make those worried by Fallout going online okay, knowing the next games coming from them were single player focused. In a recent video, we discussed Todd Howard's comments, which didn't sound very firm on no multiplayer in Starfield.
Said it was, I think it was a next generation single player experience is what you're saying about it, right?
Yes.
Does that mean it's single player only, it won't have online, like you're focusing that on just a single player experience?
Its focus is single player. Whether it has some social connection, I don't know. I don't want to guess right now. But that's our focus for that game.
It's not one of these share world games we get to follow, but it's very much like your next big epic single player.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Either way, it seems, with Pete Hines elaborating a bit more, the future of this studio is just single player. But I do also want to add in something that I feel is relevant for understanding why Fallout 76 exists. And this comes from another industry veteran, Mike Laidlaw, former BioWare writer for games like Mass Effect and Jade Empire, as well as creative director of the Dragon Age series, and he offered his insight into why Bethesda is doing Fallout 76, saying, presumably Starfield has been in the works for some time and has only recently hit its production arc where the company is comfortable committing to its eventual release. That suggests to me that there's a team cranking on lots and lots of quests for it. Also, it's going to be all new art assets by default, as it's not just a new IP, it's a new genre entirely, so we can assume design and art teams are largely allocated to its production, likely with a smaller incubation team working on the next Elder Scrolls. It's also fair to assume that a sci-fi game would have different needs in terms of engine, and note that it was presented as next generation, which strongly suggests an engine overhaul. So that's the engineering team largely committed, right? Now it's fair to pause and say, but why Starfield? Why not just make more Fallout core games? Well, I see it as a diversity play. Arguably all the people who are going to be into Elder Scrolls or Fallout are into it. There's lots. But franchise fatigue is very real, and people will tend to drop off between releases if rushed. So a third major new IP is a breath of fresh air and a chance to pull even more people into the Bethesda net, as it were. Yes, deliberate. Not to mention that the company is clearly committed to spin-offs, mobile cards, etc., which makes a third IP another huge potential market for those as well. Which brings us back to why 76. Well, first, it's reusing assets, reusing engine, reusing setting, and concepts. This makes it relatively cheap to make in terms of raw asset generation. Further, by moving to a large system-based experience and letting emergent player action be what generates the stories, the cost of quest generation and so on goes way down. In turn, this keeps the folks on Starfield and Elder Scrolls on them, while a smaller team works on 76. He would continue on discussing this a little bit more, but I think you understand what he's saying, and this is exactly what seems to be the case. Fallout 76 is something different, but something that didn't cost too many resources to make, which hopefully means right now Bethesda's bigger focus is perfecting their new technology and building a new single-player focused IP with Starfield, which Todd Howard confirmed is in a playable production state. Anyway, these comments from Pete Hines and the behind-the-scenes information on Fallout 76 do sound reassuring, but only time will tell. After the Creation Club, Bethesda's mobile game microtransactions taking off, and now Fallout 76, there have been fears for the future, something highlighted in many articles, including this one from Nerdist. Many game companies, developers who went all in with something like Fallout 76 have decided to proceed with online. But from Pete Hines' comments, this is a one-time thing, which is music to my ears and makes me more excited for what's to come next after Fallout 76 with Starfield, The Elder Scrolls 6, and eventually Fallout 5. But what do you think of Bethesda Game Studios' future? Do you think it will be impacted by Fallout 76? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and consider subscribing for more Fallout 76 content to come, and I'll see you later.